Hi, I'm Coach John, and today I'm going to talk about task initiation, which is just a fancy way of saying having a hard time getting started on projects. So, issues with task initiation and task completion are certainly a hallmark of ADHD. There are people who really struggle to get started on projects, but once they're rolling, have no problem finishing them. And then there's the opposite people who love to start projects, start too many of them, and have a hard time completing them. So, why do people have a hard time getting started on projects? Well, one reason is fear of boredom. That's definitely another hallmark of ADHD. And if the project is a long, boring project, of course, there's the potential for avoidance. My therapist friends tell me at the top of the list is also fear of failure. That's, of course, quite understandable. And then something that you could work through on dealing with kind of the emotions underlying why you have a hard time getting started on projects. A third reason might be just this feeling that there's a giant task that feels overwhelming to you. And that's the issue that I'm going to focus on today. I'm going to show you a technique that we call project breakdown to take a big, giant, overwhelming task and turn it into smaller tasks that seem much more manageable. There are lots of different tools available to do project breakdown. And if you work at a company, your company might use a standard project management tool. But for the purposes of this example, I just use something that's very basic but very effective, which is Google Worksheet. And this is a task that it's a hypothetical task. It might have been a task that I would have done early in my career potentially. So this is an award party / kickoff for a sales team. And it's a small to medium-sized company. Maybe there are 10 or 15 salespeople and maybe 25 people coming to your event. So it's a big project and it's critical for the team because it sets the tone for the year. A lot of people are depending on you to manage this project well and make sure that it goes off without any mistakes. And because it's so big and it's the first time you've done it, it feels overwhelming. So the first thing I want you to see in this project breakdown are the tabs at the bottom. So that's a good place to start, which is to define the subsections of your task. So for this task, I did key dates. So there's a kind of milestone dates, a to-do list. Again, milestone to-dos, not every single to-do that you're going to ever do. Attendee list, or at least a draft attendee list. Food and furniture, the actual ceremony itself, and travel plans. So that by itself, just doing that work of breaking it down into subsections should make you feel better. Okay, now once you get into these subsections, there are a couple of things that are pretty important. So one is you want to have good, well-defined column headings. And they're going to be different for each subsection. So for this is dates, I've got day and dates and tasks and notes. And then a status column is always really, really important. So if I go over to my to-do list, my column is a little bit different. I have owner this time now. And for status, I've shown that it's done. And some people really like color coding for done tasks. You could use green for done. You could use yellow for in process. You could use red for if you're having any issues, or you could just use green for done and not worry about the others. People like that visual display. Some people find that it's just too much work. Now, one thing you might see is there's some missing data here. We don't know the email addresses for a few people, but that's okay. This is a first pass through. And what you're trying to do is you're just trying to get the project well defined. Okay, to finish up, you've got food and furniture. Not much detail there. Probably need to add a little bit more detail to that. We have the ceremony where timing is going to be important. And then for travel, we're going to be putting in all the details so we can keep track in case there's any issues with flights. Once you get to this point in the project breakdown, you should give yourself a big pat on the back. That's fantastic. Congratulations. And I would call it a day. Maybe this actually took you a few days to get done. In any case, when you're ready to start working on the to-do list, start afresh. And the key here is just to think about the first task that you need to do. So you go to your to-do list and you say, finalize guest list. I'm not going to worry about anything else. And I'm going to work on the guest list. I'm going to send out some emails to see if people are actually coming or not. And I'm going to go from there. So this is a trick that runners use, especially long distance runners like half marathons and marathons. So when you have 26.2 miles to run and you've been running for 2.5 hours, it can feel overwhelming. You've got 10 miles to go. So what runners do is they just focus on the next mile, getting to the next mile marker. And that's actually a pretty good way to kind of play this trick on your brain to say, like, I just need to do one task today. I'm not going to worry about anything else. To summarize, just the act of taking these big giant projects and breaking them down into more manageable chunks is going to make you feel better. Then you can use that trick of just taking one chunk at a time and not thinking about the whole task to kind of trick your brain into getting to the finish line. I'm Coach John. I give practical and actionable help for people with ADHD and executive function issues. Have a great day and get started on your projects.